Hello, my fellow James Bond fans, and today we got the confirmation that Denis Villeneuve will be helming the next James Bond film. This is huge news for so many reasons, as we have been hearing reports that James Bond has been looking for a director, and now Amazon MGM have officially confirmed it's going to be Denis Villeneuve, and I have so many thoughts. So please make sure to let me know how you feel about this in the comments down below, and let's get into this. Alright, so yesterday I was just at home making food and getting ready to go see F1, but this news just got me so hyped that I need to talk about it. So yesterday, out of nowhere, Amazon confirmed that Denis Villeneuve will be directing the next James Bond film. And my immediate gut reaction was, what? This is just insane news because we have heard names like Edgar Wright, Jonathan Nolan, Paul King, and even Edward Berger giving pitches to the new producers of James Bond films, that being Amy Pascal and David Heyman. But if I'm being honest here, Denis Villeneuve was the most least likely pick out of all those names, because Denis' attention is on Dune Messiah, and most likely Amazon wants to move pretty quickly on this film, I would assume. So I always just assumed he was not going to get this job at all, but no, they have confirmed it today and it's happening. To quote from the article Amazon posted, they have said Amazon MGM Studios announced that Denis Villeneuve will direct the next James Bond film. Villeneuve will also serve as executive producer alongside Tanya Laponte, I probably butchered that, sorry. As previously announced, Amy Pascal and David Heyman will serve as producers. We are honored that Denis has agreed to direct James Bond's next chapter. Mike Hopkins, head of Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios, said in a quote, "He is a cinematic master whose filmography speaks for itself. From Blade Runner 2049 to Arrival to the Dune films, he has delivered compelling worlds, dynamic visuals, compelling characters, and most importantly, the immersive storytelling that global audiences yearn to experience in the theaters. James Bond is in the hands of one of the greatest filmmakers, and we cannot wait to get started on 007's next chapter." This one is from Amy Pascal and David Heyman. Denis Villeneuve has been in love with James Bond since he was a little boy. It was always his dream to make this movie, and now it's ours too. We are lucky to be in the hands of this extraordinary filmmaker. And the following comment is from Denis getting the gig. "Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond with my father ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I am a die-hard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor. Amy, David, and I are absolutely thrilled to bring him to the big screen. Thank you to Amazon MGM Studios for their trust." So what does this mean? Well, obviously it means we now have a director in the next James Bond film, which is just crazy to even think about. Like, we were at a point where we had like zero news whatsoever. Then Amazon came in and made that all go away in an instant. What this tells me is that Amazon MGM Studios are taking this very seriously, and for good reason. I mean, not only is this the first James Bond film since No Time to Die, but it's also going to be the first Amazon James Bond film ever. I already had some cautious optimism. I mean, I never worried about the theatrical place. For some reason, people thought it would go to Prime Video, which just never made sense to me. Amazon is clearly dedicated to the theatrical window, unlike most streaming companies. However, the downside of this was James Bond could just become content. Would it just become, spin-off shows, and would it become oversaturated? So to say I had concerns would be the understatement of the century. But you get me someone like Denis Villeneuve involved? Yeah, you got me in, Amazon. If you've seen any of Denis' work, whether it's Arrival, Dune, Blade Runner 2049, or Prisoners, you know this man can not only handle great action, great storytelling, great characters, but he can also pull off the sauce for a James Bond film. If you watch any of his films, you can see he can easily bring the aesthetic of a James Bond film to life. He's talked about in the past where he's like, well, I like to just not use dialogue and use the visuals to tell the story, which I actually commend. I think that is a very reasonable thing to do. One thing I am wondering is, what will the tone be? If you've seen any of Denis' films, you can tell that he takes things very seriously. However, at times there is a bit of wit and levity to it that makes it feel more balanced and real. Because my hope for the next James Bond film is that they go on a more fantastical nature. Not in a way where it goes too far from what we've seen before, or in a way where it gets too campy and silly, but with a good balance of grounded, serious storytelling and a good fantasy nature to it. Because after the Daniel Craig era, I kind of want to get into more like fantasy realm things, but still take it very seriously. This is actually one of the upsides you get to Amazon taking over. As much as I love and adore the Broccoli family and what they've done to the series, there is a major issue with them in charge, and that is they want final cut, they want creative control, which can be a problem as you can't get some filmmakers like a Denis Villeneuve. Now that Amazon's control, all bets are off. They can do whatever they want. If they want to, they could have got Christopher Nolan, but that seemed unlikely because he has the Odyssey coming up. Speaking of films, with Denis doing Dune Messiah, that is going to begin filming in a few weeks, I believe, from now. And we have been hearing rumors, specifically from Daniel RPK, that it's going to begin filming sometime next year. He also stated that Amazon was eyeing Aaron Pierre for the role. Now, granted, all of this was before Denis got attached, so take all of this with a grain of salt, but it is worth mentioning that directors can do multiple things at once, but it's easier to do that when it's like a small budget indie type movie compared to like a big budget film to a big budget film in like the span of a year or two. That I gotta admit, I'm not so sure about. So I am not entirely confident to say it is gonna begin filming next year. What I can say though is this tells you Amazon is committed to making this film sooner rather than later. And that Aaron Pierre casting, I honestly don't really believe it. That just doesn't really make sense to me. So yeah, I say we should just wait and see for now. Either way, I think this does mean we're closer to getting a Bond. You know, now that they got a director, now it's gonna be Denis, Amy, and David, and probably Amazon too, deciding who the next James Bond is gonna be. Either way, this is a very exciting time for James Bond fans. We are in a new era, and it's finally just a great time to finally getting some news. It's so refreshing, and yeah, it's just finally nice to see. Now my anticipation is even higher than it already was now that Denis is involved, and I cannot wait. This is where I throw off to you guys. What do you guys think of this James Bond news? Do you love that Denis is involved, or would you prefer someone else? And what tone do you want to see for the next James Bond film? Let me know in those comments down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. But until next time, take care.